And with me right now is Mr. Stephen D. Kelley. How's it going, Stephen?
Oh, just another day in paradise, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad you're here, back by popular demand. A lot of people wanted you to return back to the program, by the way, Stephen.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, they were very interested in you. And of course, Stephen, I thought we could start a little bit with your background here, just to refresh the memories of those that either have listened to you once or twice, or just the new timers out here. I thought we could get right into it. I know you are from Long Beach, California, not far from Huntington Beach, by the way. So what is going on out there?
It's really funny that you should actually mention that. But first of all, just because you said so many people, I don't even remember if we had video last time. It was just audio. But I just want to point out my new glasses. They're tactical. Hey, dude, Michael, check out tactical.
Those are cool.
I needed glasses, and I said, "You got anything tactical?" The little girl comes out and says, "We have this one pair." So okay, give it to me. I don't care what they look like. So I know actually young people think it looks cool, but yeah. So I'm in battle gear. Long Beach. All right. How you doing? How you doing? Hi, people. Thank you for having me back. Listen, here's the thing about Long Beach, and it's interesting that you even mentioned that at all, because this has been in my head recently because I've been having to do a whole lot of retrospection. Tonight on my show, I'm going to do this ridiculous amount of retrospection, tell-all, gossip, story thing going on. It's going to be awful, gut-wrenching, catharsis even, but premature deathbed confession, I guess. But anyway, the thing about Long Beach is it's sort of like Sandy Hook, okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Or say like perhaps, I don't know, Salem. Okay, you see where I'm going with this?
I do.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, yeah. There are cities in this country that are basically satanic in nature. They're satanic people congregate there. Crestline is another example, interestingly enough. Crestline is a little city up in the hills up there. You know Crestline up there by Arrowhead and all that?
I do.
That's where they took the kids up there from McMartin Preschool and did their little rituals right above a big water reservoir. They always do that. Whenever I find these nests of Satanists, they're always right above water reservoirs. They do their thing right above a water reservoir. I found one in Encino, and sure enough, they did their thing right above the Encino Reservoir.
No, that's pretty alarming. Yeah.
It's if you know anything about chi or feng shui or any of these things, these are just words to describe energy, but basically negative energy rolls downhill. This is why Buddhist temples are usually high up and nobody lives above a Buddhist temple. People live below the Buddhist temple. These are little things like this, that's feng shui. If you know anything about feng shui, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And conveniently enough, believe it or not, the reservoir just below Crestline is called Devil's Canyon Reservoir. Go figure, right? Anyway, yeah, Long Beach, where I was born at Long Beach Memorial Hospital, I didn't find out until many years later when I was talking to a guy that was familiar with all the satanic stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody connected to Mark Passio, if you guys know the videos. But anyway, he said, yeah, Long Beach is one of those cities, just like, Sandy Hook was, or is still, of course. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, that's where I was born. So yeah, the first 2 years of my life, I don't know what went on, but I do know that there's a heavy Masonic presence. Obviously, Daddy was CIA or something like that. Mommy was just, dumb. But so who knows? Who knows what happened during the period of time? Most of my early life, very early life, I grew up in Los Alamitos, which is right next to Beach, of course. But they had Los Alamitos Navy base right there, which of course is where the CIA stuff went on. And then we eventually moved to Anaheim, and I never really knew what that was all about. It was a big disruption, but I think it had something to do with putting me in the program to get involved with lasers and laser optics, because that was kind of like the center for that stuff out here in Southern California.
Right.
It's like Los Alamitos back then was a big computer science center. All the kids were getting programmed to be computer scientists.
Right, and we also have Boeing not far away.
Oh, of course. Boeing actually, before Boeing, we had let's see, McDonnell Douglas. I mean, you had McDonald, and you had Douglas, and then McDonnell Douglas, and then you had Rockwell. And then it became Rockwell, and then Boeing, I guess, took over from them. Whatever. Anyway, it's just like Martin Marietta and Lockheed. These were all separate companies that all conglomerated into these big CIA monsters.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So Daddy never stopped working for the CIA. He always, when we thought he was out doing night school or something, he was over at Los Alamitos Navy Base doing his thing over there. And that probably went on until he died, when I got handed off to the NSA, conveniently. Interestingly enough, this is how they do it, actually. Whenever he wasn't a Mason, he hated all that Mason shit, but whenever there's like a high-ranking person and they hand off. They call it a legacy system. One of the children kind of gets handed off and takes over. In this case, that was me. My brother likes to think it was him, but no, it was actually me. But anyway, that's a pretty complex thing. But
and you have a brother,
try not to think about
by the way.
Yeah, I got a twin brother.
A twin brother.
Ridiculous story.
And is he aware of the book, aware of your online presence, essentially being a whistleblower, that sort of deal?
He's my polar opposite. He's like the enemy. Okay.
Oh,
seriously.
my.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, before the Getty people found out about me, they thought I was him. They thought he was me. They spent all these. I know this sounds silly, but they spent, basically been spending thousands of years looking for me. And they thought it was Norman, my brother, and he was recruited by Don Nixon, who was like the number 2 man under Robert Vesco, which was the international, mafia cartel, which basically runs the world. Palantir. I mean, seriously, Palantir, Elon Musk, all that crap, eBay, everything, the internet, CIA. This was happening right there. These are the guys that did all that. They all worked under this. Robert Vesco guy, and he was the guy that we worked for. But anyway, he's dead. They're all dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. What happened was we had a sit-down dinner with the trust fund manager of Getty. My brother, myself, his roommate was friends with the trust fund manager. We were at this restaurant. This is when they found out that I was the one they were looking for, basically. And they told him, they said to his face, they said, "You're just a pale shadow of this guy." And then they turned to me and they basically wanted to know what I could do. This was back during when Yasser Arafat was over there in Palestine, coincidentally enough.
Right.
And so the politics of all that crap that's going on in Gaza right now was very much a part of this stuff back then also. Only it was so they were trying to convince me that I had to use my whatever, powers to help Yasser Arafat. Of course, this was a trap. But anyway, yeah, so that's my brother, and to this day he's become a total absolute pain in my ass. I think it's because he's so crushed that they wanted me to be their damn Antichrist instead of him. I think he wanted that role.
And do you talk to him regularly?
Oh, hell no.
No, yep. When's the last time you talked to him?
Well, he did call me up the other day when... you want to really know? Seriously, you want to really know?
I do, actually. I'm actually quite curious. I've never heard you talk about this.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, what is going on?
Oh, God. Why not? Hey, man.
Yeah, why not? We're here.
Hey, Michael. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I had this girlfriend. I had this woman I was trying to save from the wolves, so to speak. Something happened. Someone got jealous and pointed her up at her brother. Happens to be a tranny.
Oh, my.
And, yeah, well, come on, Baphomet, right? Baphomet,
that's true.
Tranny, hello. Don't you think they thought a tranny would be perfect for their little, whatever it was?
Absolutely.
Right? Anyway, she hooked, you basically, well, let's put it bluntly, you fucked her. So yeah, man, I'm bitter as all fuck. But so yeah, that was the last contact I had.
Well, that is wild, by the way. I mean, hold on, you can't move
Yeah, you
forward
like that
yet.
story?
Go back to the fucking part. I mean, that's pretty wild to actually go
You like
through with
that
it.
part?
I do like that
I
part
know,
because
huh?
it's like, how
Some
do
people are
you?
simple though, right?
Well, I mean, how do you go through it though? The act of banging a tranny, though. I mean,
I know.
that's kind of,
Huh? Pretty wild, huh?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You know why? Because it looked like me, only with chips.
Oh my God.
Pretty much, and no beard.
Yes. My goodness.
Yeah. Lots of plastic surgery.
Understood.
That's what they do. Anyway, so
Anyways,
yeah. So I'm not too happy about that. But you know, that's just the nature of all this crap and this whole Getty thing. I don't even know what you're talking about. You're asking me about Norman because twin and all that. You know who else was a twin? Jesus.
Jesus had a twin.
Yep, his twin brother was named Thomas, and Thomas, his name, like his middle name, actually means twin. And he also had another brother named James. Go figure. But this is stuff that obviously the Vatican doesn't want you to be aware of. He had 3 sisters too, but nobody knows their names. Women didn't count.
My goodness.
Yeah, funny how that stuff is, huh?
Absolutely. Wow. So, Stephen, by the way, let's fast forward a little bit. So how did you go from laser engineering to whistleblowing on intelligence operations?
Well,
how'd you fall into that?
I was doing secret weapons and that kind of thing. And I was doing well. Okay, when I was the deeper I got, as soon as the Getty guys got involved, I was already pretty deep in all this stuff. Okay, with whatever.
Balls
by this
deep.
time,
yeah.
I had already been crushed pretty heavily. What a pun there, huh? By these guys. I mean, taking away contracts, just crushing me, just destroying my family, destroying everything, and I was down to pretty much nothing. And again, these Getty guys didn't even know anything about me whatsoever, but they were chasing after my brother because they thought, I mean, like it's like, for instance, I had an invention, a 3-beam laser, and these guys, they were waiting for my brother to invent it. Like they're asking him, "Where do you make that 3-beam laser?" And he's like, "What?" That was me. But anyway, jeez, what was the point I was trying? Oh yeah, okay. Well, what ended up happening after I figured them out, and they kind of after I figured out about the bunker. Okay, after we had the remote viewer go down there and see everything, and then after they freaked out and wanted, and I thought they were going to kill me, and the trust fund manager guy said, "No, these are my people. They're going to work with me." Blah blah blah. This kind of thing. And I said, "Fine." And so by this time they knew. I guess they didn't know about me until a bit later, but eventually, by the time when they knew about me, what happened was they said they come up with this thing. They say, "We're not Nazis, we're not Jews, we're not Republicans, we're not Democrats, we're all humans, and we need to save the Earth from the alien invasion," this kind of thing. "And we need you to help us make some sort of weapon that we can use to defend the Earth." And I'm like, so, and I kind of fell for that. I said, "All right, as long as you guys don't shoot down any more planes, because they just got through shooting down Flight 800. I said, no more shooting down jets, and I'll help you out." And so I put a lot of effort into trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And somewhere along the line, I realized I couldn't. There was nothing I could invent, no device, no technology that would do it, because I realized these guys were like way ahead of us, and they would have already come up with something to defeat it.
So this was, hold on about 1 second. You mentioned Flight 800. You mean the TWA Flight 800 from
TWA
96?
Flight 800. And I was really pissed off about that. I told them I wasn't going to work for them if they did that again.
Anyways, yes.
Yeah, so just to cut to the chase, it didn't take me too long before I realized that this whole technology thing wasn't the way to go, and that the the only way that we could defeat these guys was using our brains, our psychic stuff, our psychic skills, because that was where the real power was. I mean, it's like, who needs a soldier when you could get a soldier to work for you, or this kind of thing. You could do all these things using psychic skills. You could be in many places. You could defeat them in their backyard, their realm. You could go to their realm and kill them, and they can't touch you. I do that all the time now, actually, but they hate me. But anyway, point is that come Halloween, they shot down Flight 990, which was Egyptian Air, and I knew it was going to happen. I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen. And then at the stroke of midnight, the day of Halloween, not the night, but the stroke of midnight, at 1 a.m. in the morning, they shot down that damn plane. Screw you guys. That's it. I'm not going to have anything to do with you. And of course, obviously, my life became crap. but yeah, so that's when I basically decided that I wasn't going to have anything to do with those whole Getty people, and that I was going to destroy what they were doing. This whole killing people, thinking they can decide who lives and dies crap. Because they flat out said, they flat out told me that I could be like, whatever, king if I just would get used to the idea that everyone else had to die, kind of stuff. That's what they said. And of course, I live in Los Angeles. I'm coming down from the Getty, and I'm coming down the freeway. If you ever been to the Getty, you come off the 405. It's got this great view of the city, right? Seriously, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm looking at all those buildings and thinking about, 10 million people out there, right? And thinking, man, there are some fine-ass Latinos out there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm 10 million people in Los Angeles. I'm thinking of all the really fine women, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, you're not lying, though.
There's no way. There's no way, right? That's like, that's just the first thing that hit my mind. It's like, what an incredible waste that would be. I mean, I know that's sick. That's like getting pissed off when people want to kill chickens or something, or puppies or kittens, or whatever.
And how much money did they offer you, by the way, Stephen?
Money?
They didn't offer you any money for these things.
Well, let me just put it this way: when you go to work back in those days, this was like during Clinton,
right?
The standard salary was like $7,000. Okay, I know that doesn't sound like much. It's a joke, but what that was like the salary of a major in the Air Force or something like that. So basically, what happens is when you give them whatever, you sign your soul, they give you a rank, a military rank, starting at like major, and they give you the salary. And the reason why they do that is because once they do that, they can throw you in Leavenworth anytime they want for anything. They don't give up all your rights. Okay, that's the whole thing. You have to, in order to be one of them, you have to do this military thing. So obviously, I would not do that. But money, I mean, jeez, God, you make me sick just to think about it. I mean, they're really good at taking away money. Let's put it this way. They're really good. I should have been. I mean, I had the opportunity to be probably a billionaire by now, but it would have meant a lot of dead people. Okay,
that's pretty much what I would have figured. If they offered you just a crazy amount of money, I'm sure that would mean a crazy amount of deaths.
I was selling product, okay?
Right.
Product, okay? I had lasers that were going to go on every single gun. Every single gun in the U.S. military is like, 1 million guns, 800,000, 700,000 just in the Army. Guns, rifles, okay?
Which would be sold overseas, obviously.
Well, first you got to do all the services in the U.S., which would be a lot, and then you would go to the Allies, and the product that I was selling was I actually developed for the Allies. In fact, most of my sales went to Europe, Western Europe. I had a guy in Spain who handled all my European stuff, and I did like very heavy in Germany and Spain, and some in Italy, Nordic countries. They didn't really let me go too far beyond that. England and France, I couldn't really penetrate. But there was actual terrorism going on in Spain and Germany. Germany had the Red October. Spain had ETA. And there was, like, people dying all the time. But when Israel wanted to buy the stuff is when it got ugly. And then when the military wanted to buy it, of course, I just couldn't do it. I mean, I knew since '77 that I was going to make all this money selling weapons. But when the time actually, because I saw my timeline a long time ago. But when it actually happened, when I got that letter,
Yeah.
it says, yeah, we want to evaluate your laser, blah blah blah. I knew. I knew what was going to happen. I mean, it's just like why I wouldn't sell to the Israelis, because I knew they'd be using that right now.
Well, I mean, eventually that's going to happen. You do have arms dealers out there who will get a hold of a lot of your technology, in which I'm sure they do now.
Yeah, well,
that ends up
it's
happening.
Fashionable now. I mean, ever since 9/11, making this stuff and so-called fighting terrorism has become fashionable. But when I was doing it, it was real. It was real terrorists. Now it's I mean, it was always terrorists. I mean, hell, when I was making stuff for the Oliver North gang, which is where this all started, they were terrorists. We were the terrorists. My terrorists were using my stuff.
Yeah.
The Contras were the terrorists, and they were killing, people that were innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, sovereign nation over there in Nicaragua. So yeah, we were the bad guys. But that's kind of what kind of screwed me up was realizing that we were the bad guys.
That's usually the
1990.
That's usually the shocker for most Americans when they find out that, at times we are actually the bad guys.
At times.
Why, to use it loosely. At times, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're the bad guys. I mean, I could blame it on, juice boxes, but obviously I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get kicked off of any platforms or anything. Which brings us to Charlie Kirk, right? But anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's
what
another.
Else did you want to talk about?
Well, we could move around here. A lot of people wanted to hear you talk a little bit about the Getty for a moment, but I think we could go forward though.
We could talk about the Getty.
But but you mentioned Charlie Kirk already, so you know what? Let's go down that avenue. And
we all know what happened. I think Candace Owens is pretty upfront about what's going on.
She revealed a lot of text messages that indicate that he was, turning away from the tiny hats.
Yeah, he was definitely doing that, and it's amazing that he actually went there. I mean, I suppose if you want to give credit for, it's better late than never, right? I mean,
well, he kissed the wall, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but I'm certainly, I mean, for instance, I'm guilty of promoting Trump in his first campaign.
So am I.
My hatred for Hillary was so strong. And I know so many of us are guilty of that, but, it took me a while to figure it out. And I know I did not do my due diligence. I mean, hell, I ignored the buffoon. And then I went and did my research, and I realized he wasn't just mafia. He was part of the same damn mafia I was part of. And I swear, even now, at this late stage in my life, I'm still learning more about this damn Intertel mafia. And now the big thing, it's like, obviously Jeffrey Epstein was part of it.
Very much so.
Was part of it.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was part of it. Trump was part of it.
Very much.
And on and on and on and on.
And I don't blame you, though, Stephen. I did the same mistake, by the way. I did vote for him, and I regret doing so. I feel like I ruined the nation by voting for him, even though I'm in California. And I thought, well, my vote really doesn't count. But either way, I really did not vote for a lot of the things that he's doing. And I knew better, but there I was doing it and making my old man proud, since he's a big Trump mark.
Think what really baffles me today is the fact, after all these years, that people haven't figured out that he's not just a tiny hat guy. He's Chabad, which are just hateful of Christians. And I'll tell you, if you look at Ukraine, you want to talk about Ukraine.
Yeah.
They really did want to turn that whole territory into some new Jerusalem. And the basis of Chabad and what's left of the Khazar Empire is Kiev. and people wonder why countries like Lithuania and Estonia and Latvia, these little Baltic countries, are so fervently anti-Russians, because that's where the tiny hats ran when the Khazar Empire was destroyed.
Correct.
And then they filtered back into Kiev. And the crazy part, the stuff I'm learning, is that they have really strong connections to Genghis Khan and the Golden Horde, and that even stranger is that they share a basic religious belief system, kind of a pagan thing. And I'm talking about, the Kokols, whatever you want to call them, the guys with the Crimeans and what have you, is it goes back to Moloch.
Moloch, okay? Right.
Yeah, Genghis Khan and these Khazars have connections in their belief system that can be traced back to Moloch. And that blows me away that the Moloch stuff made it all the way to Genghis Khan. I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So yeah, that's true.
Think about that for a second. Because Genghis Khan himself said he was a curse from God. He was sent by Satan to basically punish humans for their sins. I mean, he was very conscious of the fact that he was evil incarnate. In fact, there is sayings amongst those of us that are knowing in these things that Genghis Khan, when he died, he didn't go through the normal human reincarnation process. He went straight into the fourth density, which is what we call hell. And he was actually brought and welcomed in there as like a hero or a damn celebrity. Crazy, huh?
That is crazy.
It's like Enoch or one of our Christian legends where someone, Ezekiel goes up into heaven on a chariot. Damn that guy went to hell on a chariot. He was a hero to them.
Red carpet treatment, huh?
Red carpet treatment. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I never thought about that.
Crazy stuff. The way reality really works.
It's a sick world.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a little bitter in my old age, but I don't have a whole lot of time to do the work I got to do, and I understand that like you're recording right now, and what have you, probably be around for a while. People go, yeah, hell, I had Jehovah's Witness at my door last Sunday, and of course first it was two Mexican dudes, and I thought, oh, cops or something, right? And so I was going to open the door, and then I saw a couple of little kids with ties running around beside me. I thought, oh, Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, hey, hey, you guys, get back over here, right? And I tried to tell them about the Getty, and one of the dudes, who I guess was the senior who did all the talking, he said, yeah, I said, yeah, there's 100,000 children under the Getty. He says, yeah, I heard about that.
He heard of the 100,000 kids.
He's heard the story.
Oh my!
Uh-huh.
I wonder how.
The point is, I told him. I said, "Well, I'm the reason for that. I'm the one that started that story, and and if you heard it, it's for word of mouth through people like ultimately had come from me, and then I basically, once you know that information, you're saying, okay, you're supposed to be this religious evangelist person,
right? You're
just confronted with a person that ultimately was responsible for you becoming aware that there's 100,000 children under the Getty. What are you going to do about it? Tell me to my face how that makes you feel, that you now know. You no longer can claim ignorance to this. You now know, and you also claim to be a religious person that seeks paradise on earth. What do you think about these 100,000 children? And I basically said, hey, guy, you think angels are going to come down here and rescue these kids? Or are we going to be like doing what Jesus said, and we're going to use our foot to stomp on the serpents and the scorpions with full authority from Jesus? It's right. He's like, no, it doesn't say that in the Bible, and had to run away from me. And I'm like, oh, you fucking pedophile enabler. I did that to the FBI when they came to my door, too. All I had to do was mention Robert Vesco, and they ran away. And I yelled at them as they ran away. I called them pedophile enablers.
Yeah.
And then, as they got further away from me, I mean, they were like still in my yard. I said, you work for Satan? What are you going to do? And you know what they did after that? They went door to door to all my neighbors' house and told them how terrible I was.
Oh, really?
I live in a ghetto.
So they're like, hey, the gringo over there. Have you ever heard
The
of him?
gringo over there, we're the FBI. Don't mess with that gringo over there. You know how much street cred that gives me? Like, idiots.
That's pretty funny.
This is the thing. These people don't understand psychology at all. And one of the people that was there in this group, as soon as I saw her, it was a little Asian girl. You know, she was like the bulldog in the conversation with these FBI people. That she's like, I looked at her, I'm like, oh, psychology master, huh? And she's like, don't give me that. Really? You're gonna send a psych major after me? Seriously? What the hell? My God. And these people are children. They don't know anything. They are sent into the field like that to go confront somebody like me with no clue who I am. Seriously. No clue. Pretty funny.
And by the way, for those who don't know, Stephen, what exactly what exactly, first led you to investigate the Getty? What initially got you to sound the alarm there?
Well, I knew about the bunkers for some time, obviously, because, people like Phil Schneider talked about it.
Right.
He's obviously dead. And I had various handlers, of course, people that tried to be my handlers. One of them was a guy named Vince. He was pretty cool. I read about him in my book. They killed him too. They gave him a heart attack. He was actually turned out to be a reptile. He was a shapeshifter, but he was a pretty cool guy. These reptiles, sometimes it can be cool. I mean, it's just like saying a friendly Nazi or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're out there. Anyway, Vince was pretty cool. I kind of regret that they killed him the way they did. But he used to share stuff with me. For instance, the word caver that I use in my book, like lasers, cavers, and magic. Cavers is the name that they use for themselves. Okay, these people that live in these bunkers, they're cavers. That was Vince called them cavers. And Vince knew about this stuff. He was pretty, I mean, at that level, I don't, you can't really call it CIA, obviously. When you're a reptile, you're something else. I mean, the Getty, it's not even, you can't call that CIA, something else. But he was like CIA. He did like in Africa, his job was to try to help the American influence over the Chinese in Africa. He did stuff like that. But he knew all about the bunkers, and we talked about that stuff. And in fact, it's funny because one time he was with us in Vegas for a Soldier Fortune show back in those days, and I was actually in my hotel room with him and some of my people, and who was also kind of a CIA guy, and my European rep, Andrew Soler, and we were talking about UFOs for whatever reason, and of course Vince, reptile, he got all into that stuff, and you could tell you can usually tell these alien guys because they're not regular. They don't speak regular. They do stuff that gives them away, like a 50-year-old man that's like a virgin and doesn't know a lot of things. That's a clue, or someone who has real difficulty putting together normal sentences, that kind of thing.
I see.
So they stand out. And of course, but he was, so basically what happened was I had pretty much figured out that there was a bunker under the Getty. Obviously, I'm psychic, come on. I knew it as soon as I saw the Getty the first time. I knew something was going on. Seriously, the first time I drove past the Getty while it was under construction, I said, holy crap, this is not right. Something is going on here. I could feel it. Anyway, so I sent Vince an email one day, and it was a passage from the learned elders of the protocols of it was a passage from the protocols of the learned elders of Zion.
Right.
And this particular passage was the one where they describe the underground bunkers. Now, bear in mind, this was written back in, Civil War time. And anyway, they're talking about how they were going to build all these underground bunkers under the cities and how that was their big weapon, and how when the time came, if we ever got a clue of what was going on, they would blow these things up along with all archives and treasure, whatever the hell, something like that. And so it's like, duh, that's what they're doing with the Getty. They're gathering up all this art so that they, because it's the entrance to their bunker, and if we should ever figure out that there's a bunker there, they're going to blow up the entrance and all this art, just like they said they were going to do over 100 years ago. So I sent this passage to Vince. That's it. I just sent him an email with that passage. And hell, I could read you the passage. You want me to read it to you?
Sure, if you have it on hand.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
It's no trouble.
If you don't mind. It's
cool.
I just have to pull up my little thing, my art, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. I think people like that.
You think people like that? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
well, this was the passage that basically tells you that what they're doing. In fact, I should probably send it to you. Okay, here it is. This is the final passage. Oh no, this isn't. I'm not going to give you that. I'll give you the final passage of the protocols, but let me give you this passage first. Okay. I'm going to blow it up on my screen here so I can read it properly. Come on, you. All right, maybe I can read this one. Oh, there it is. All right, here we go. This is number 13. I believe it's passage 13, chapter 9, something like that. You may say that the Goyim will rise upon us, arms in hand, if they guess what is going on before the time comes. But in the West, we have against this maneuver of such appalling terror that the stoutest hearts quail. The undergrounds, metropolitans, those subterranean corridors, which before the time comes will be driven under all the capitals, and from whence those capitals will be blown into the air with all their organizations and archives. And that's basically what all these bunkers are that Phil Schneider was talking about. So basically what they're saying is that should we ever try to gain access to their bunker system, which is their weapon that allows them to rule from underground, that they'll blow up the entrances, and with it, all of our treasure. Now, the Getty was supposed to be Noah's Ark of Western culture. So, yeah, it's essentially being held hostage. And you know who built the bomb that they're using, right?
Who?
Same people that built the ones that took down the Twin Towers.
Oh.
With our money. Over there in Dimona. Part of Reagan's Star Wars program. They called those Roman candle nukes. They were designed to have very little residual radiation, low radiation nuclear blast. That's what they used, obviously, over there in New York. But yeah, and we paid for that. And this is the thing about nuclear bombs, is that it's easy to isolate isotopes afterwards. And those things are like fingerprints. They're traceable. I've had this physicist guy. He was Swedish, and of course he doesn't like to talk about this stuff anymore. But we both know a little bit about explosives, and we were talking about it. He told me that he had done the research and he had gotten access to isotopes, and he had them analyzed, and he traced it all the way back to Dimona and Reagan Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, the Star Wars Initiative back in '83. I actually talked to a gentleman by the name of Dr. Albert Taylor, who was a guest on Art Bell Show for many years, and he talked about remote viewing and, mostly astro travel, essentially, not just remote viewing, but I brought him onto the program. Same thing, but I brought him onto the program many times, and we've discussed these sort of things, and he's the one that takes credit for creating GPS, basically. And he mentioned the laser technology that we had, and he said the things that they have don't seem like they came from Earth, he says.
Well, you're talking about the stuff the cavers have, I guess, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, well, the cavers, they have Tesla tech, obviously. And they also have what you would call Atlantean tech. And there's Atlantean tech out there. I was actually working on Atlantean tech. That's just like crystals and stuff. And they got pissed off. I had Men in Black in my garage. And that was part of my shutdown in Anaheim when I was working on the Lightspeed stuff. At the same time I was doing that, I was also working on some free energy stuff. And I got some pretty good, I do everything with a shoestring budget, of course. And I figured out how to do it. I mean, if I had access to, say, like a thin film evaporation system, something that I could use to, say, evaporate platinum, that would be really cool.
Sure.
Because because it's all about coating one crystal on top of another crystal. In this case, I want to use platinum is actually going to be my conductor. But what I really need to do is coat the quartz crystal with silver, and then that's where the dual dissimilar crystal properties take place, which is what basically is how generators and motors work. And then of course the platinum wire would be in lieu of copper wire, if you will. This is all about melting points, obviously, because the platinum has because the quartz and the copper, or the quartz and the platinum, have a much higher melting point than the silver, the fine silver. And again, there's different ways I can do it. If I use an evaporative process, then I can use a cold application for the silver. But I'm thinking also I might actually use like a lost wax method, which would be really crude, but it would also work. So that's where I'm at with the free energy business. And of course, I got totally shut down right in the middle of that. And then of course but the light speed stuff, I put it out there to the world back in the day when people made web pages before, like Facebook and stuff. I advertised a service, an aerospace service for heavy plating, cold plating of fine silver, thick fine silver. And this is not something that people do, but I did it. I did it for jewelry, and I thought, well, hey, this has got some optical applications. And of course, when I say optical applications, I don't just mean like lenses and reflecting, but what it turned out was that it was actually a lasing media. And this is what they were doing over there at the University of Colorado, over there in Fort Collins, which is next to Area 51, of course, which is where they do all their aerospace research. And anyway, so they basically put this heavy silver on these copper electrodes, and then they would put it inside of a magnetic field, the whole thing inside of a magnetic field, and then they would generate a plasma. And I don't really know how that was done. It might have just been like a really, really heavy bunch of electricity going through the copper base structure, but whatever it was, is that when you do this, and it's not just a plasma, but it's a plasma that's resonated to a specific frequency to cause the separations of the electrons from the silver. Okay, basically, this is transmutation, if you will. But that's what light speed is, because what it does is it converts into ultraviolet light. Okay, so these electrons, as they're separated from the basis, what happens is that the surface of the silver degrades one atomic layer at a time, and it does it coherently, which means that the discharge of the atomic discharge, whatever you want to call it, the light discharge, the ultraviolet light that's discharged, is coming out coherent, meaning all the rays, all the particles, their photons, whatever you want to call them, are straight lines. They're linear. They're parallel, like the sun. Okay, or like a laser beam, like a laser beam. We don't say focus with laser beam because that implies that it's not already parallel.
Right.
You only focus beams that aren't parallel. But yeah, a real laser, like an ion laser, the light comes out parallel. Okay, you don't need to focus it. It's only the solid state, which has really, really messy output, that requires a focusing lens. And then even then it's sloppy compared to an actual ion laser. But anyway, so yeah. So then what that means is if you have a big structure, like a 21-foot beam ship made out of silver, and you're in a magnetic field, which is what they do, and then you expose it to plasma, which they can do, obviously, and then it causes the surface of that silver to emit this ridiculous amount of optical energy in the UV wavelength. And that basically pushes whatever it is that's doing that up to light speed. So that's how they do light speed. They can do that a lot, because obviously if they make something out of really thick silver, and then trust me, these beam ships are pretty thick, you can peel off atomic layers many, many times, and you're right. Think about it. Every time you peel off one of those atomic layers, you're achieving light speed. That's what they do. Anyway, that's the stuff I was researching right before I got shut down. Anyway,
yeah, and I'm sure that was a big headache for you to get shut down in the middle of a big project like that.
Well, I would have liked to do the free energy thing. I figured I was onto something. I was already generating like 1.5 volts. Okay, 1.5 volts is kind of normal. All right, for anything. Okay, it's like the ambient energy that's out there. It's pretty much 1.5 volts. You can get that out of the ground or out of a tree or whatever. But what matters is the milliamps, the amperage, and I was only getting milliamps, a couple of milliamps or something like that. Not enough barely enough to light a diode or something of this nature. So obviously, if we're going to use something like that, it's going to be really big. And of course, Atlantean technology, their stuff was really big, big giant crystals.
Right.
So yeah, coated in silver. Now, I wasn't supposed to learn about that because when I discovered it, I had those damn men in black in my garage screwing with me.
Which happens.
Well, they didn't screw with me, but they screwed my cousin who was visiting, wandered into my garage to kick back and drink a Corona or something, take a couple of hits of something. While he was sitting there, the damn men in black showed up and zonked him, and basically decided that he was not a threat, and split. After then he kind of woke up from his little whatever it was mind control thing, and went and ran after them to look for him because they could just backed out the door of my garage. As soon as they went out the door, he could stand up and chase after him, but they were gone. And right that minute, I pulled up with my family in the driveway, and I didn't know he was there. He was a surprise visit. No one had a clue that he was coming, and that's why these guys freaked out, because here's a stranger in my garage next to my top secret stuff. They were tripping. They thought he was going to hurt me. That's why they did that. Okay, they panicked. They do that. In fact, that's the thing. People don't realize that's part of that whole can't be killed club thing. There's a couple of reasons for it. One is bloodline. Obviously, if you're a special bloodline, they're tasked to kind of manage that, protect it. But then also, if you do stuff that's going to have like an effect in the future on a whole bunch of people, then you get that whole grand trine thing going on, and then they protect that. And it's like you can't interfere. So so it's like sometimes if you come into contact with me, you might have like people in the bushes spying on you, just trying to figure out if you're friendly or not. That kind of thing. But yeah, it gets kind of old, actually.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting, having to deal with that, Stephen. And are you still a person of interest to these folks?
I have NSA across the street, seriously. Right there. The guy across the street from me is NSA. He doesn't hide it either.
Really? So he's like in a whole van and just peering through windows like Richard Ramirez?
Yeah, all that stuff.
Oh, my.
Anyway, he's paid to live there, him and his wife. He has like a bunch of money. He showed one of my friends his portfolio, so he doesn't need to be living in a ghetto. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is a ghetto, and he buys that damn house and puts all this money into it and all this stuff. He doesn't belong there. He's trying to act, he's Mexican, of course, so he tries to act all ethnic with the vatos next door, but come on, geez. But then I go on my, on my show, I go shout out to my friendly neighborhood NSA dude. And then he comes out and says, hey, thanks for the shout out in front of all his, people. So it's not, they're not hiding it.
Yeah, that's pretty blatant if he did that.
Well, he doesn't hide it. He doesn't say, no, I'm not NSA. No, I'm not spying on you. He says, hey, thanks for the shout out.
Yeah. And obviously you didn't tell him what you're doing. You're not talking about your involvement in any of this. And he already knew.
He already knows. Knows. All he wants to know is if there's guns here, who comes and goes, that kind of thing.
Surveillance, in other words.
Basic surveillance.
My. Again, it sounds like a headache dealing with prying eyes.
Well, it's not a very fun life, that's for sure. I mean, I'm pretty numb to it. Seriously, numb is a good word. You get numb. You get numb after a year. Seriously, dude. I have to think about it, but I think technically this has been going on since roughly 1990, because that's when I had my big falling out with the
with these
NSA
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
NSA.
so when you leave at times for like a while, you come home. Is there like a mess around? As there people come inside your house, that sort of deal.
Well, they're really good about that stuff. Seriously, they are. They're really good. They've been doing that for a while.
I
I mean, if you're
figured.
coming home and they're not done, they'll just stop you. You'll get pulled over or something. They'll say, no, you have to sit there for a minute, and then they'll let you go, and then the people are done doing what they're doing. But say, like for instance, if they touch something, they will put dust down where they touched it.
Mm.
They cover it up really good. But I leave stuff laying around. I mean, I used to do that. I used to leave stuff laying around just for that purpose.
Just to
Because
see
that's the
if they
nature.
moved it, right? Yeah.
Well, no, it's because information is a powerful thing. So it's a sword that cuts in two directions.
You are a targeted individual, Stephen.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's not the point of it. The point is that humans are susceptible to like the truth. Okay. And so the guy across the street, I mean, this is why they're so big on the AI and crap, because you can't corrupt an AI. I mean, you actually can corrupt an AI. I've already done it. But it's humans, when they're presented with reality, unless they're absolute heinous satanic bastards, most humans will have certain levels of compassion and humanness that will come out in the end. And this
Right.
can be manipulated. And that makes the enemy weak, because they have to depend on these humans to do these heinous jobs, and that requires a lot of information, false information. So in other words, like for instance, in my office, my front office over at the shop, I had a desk in the lobby, and there would be like a stack of like a little sorting. Back in the days, we used to use a lot of paper, but anyway, so you have these like little shelving units with a whole different paper, and I would always have like CIA stuff sitting there, or UFO stuff or something like that, some critical stuff, or I would have my briefcase with all my uh, news clippings for the past 30 years of all the drug dealings and stuff with the government, CIA crap,
Yeah.
Anyway, and they, cops would come, and that, of course, that's the first thing they see, and so in other words, you could control what these people see, what they think, and you can intimidate them. I mean, seriously, there's a lot of ways to intimidate people. I mean, hell, I used to have targets on my wall that had bullseyes, just little. Seriously, I was so good. I was really good. I don't go around bragging about that stuff, but I was so good that when I went shooting, all my bullets went through one hole. I know that sounds crazy, but seriously, that's what I did. It's like you don't practice, because once all your bullets go through the same hole, it doesn't. You're just wasting bullets after that. But that's how I shot. Okay, with a handgun, I'm talking now, a Glock. So these people are scared to death of me. I had a ridiculous reputation. They called me, what's his name? Doc Holliday. That's it. They called me Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday.
That's I think they had something to do with drugs.
And by the way, Stephen, when was the last sort of like run-in with these folks? Have you ever
besides the guy across the street?
Yeah, has there been like anything? Well, I mean, in regards to getting like physical, has there been anything like that?
Well, I got banned from the Getty a little while ago. I tried to go to the Getty with that woman I was talking about that hooked up with my brother, and they basically said, no.
You're not allowed.
You're not allowed. That's pretty in your face, right?
Well, that's true. Okay.
That's pretty in your face. And then I'm was kind of a public battle I was going at with the district attorney for El Dorado County, who happens to be the president of the District Attorney Association for California. And again, this was also had to do with this woman. But yeah, that brought some flack my way.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and that's a small target when you compare Gavin Newsom and Gordon Getty, who are my real targets. But then, I mean, my God, lately I've been going after Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. I mean, Intertel, come on, it's like Intertel. It's like I don't even really know who runs Intertel anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's Donald Trump. Because after Vesco died, who took over? I don't know. You'd think whoever it was would be kind of public, and I kind of think it's Donald Trump. But if somebody could give me a name of somebody that's a more likely candidate, I'm happy to look into it. But right now, as near as I can tell, the worldwide international Khazarian mafia has been taken over by Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Yeah, you might be right.
Well,
You might be right.
When Robert Vesco died, he ran Resorts International, which was the front company for their whole operation. This included Epstein and everything else. And who took that over? Donald Trump. I mean, if it was some other mobster, then I'd think it was them, but it was Trump. And here's the thing: is that this mafia, it's like I remember things, like because I'm an old person and I still remember things. Probably because I don't take my fluoride, but I remember Howard Hughes, and I remember medical before Howard Hughes was kidnapped and killed. Medical was nonprofit in the United States. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, I do.
Yeah, nonprofit medical. And then because of Howard Hughes,
yeah,
and his Howard Hughes Medical Association, the fact that he was kidnapped by the mafia and they took him over and did all these horrible things, CIA crap, so-called CIA crap was really mafia, like Glomar Explorer and all that. But then Nixon comes along and says, no, we're going to take away this tax thing.
Right.
And we're going to, and now we're $40 trillion in debt to pharmacies or pharmaceutical industry. Thank you, Nixon. Thank you. Oh, that's mafia. Sorry, it wasn't Nixon. It was mafia. Mafia did that. Same mafia. It's all mafia. That's the bottom line. People need to start saying Intertel mafia. It's just like people need to start saying Gordon Getty, not because he's the most powerful person in the world, but because he's actually the weakest link in the entire system. If we take him down, we take down his bunker, we take down it all. That's just, it just so happens, and that they actually know this too. Seriously, they actually know this. They've seen it in their crystal ball that they get taken down because of me and this whole Getty business.
Right. And by the way,
they can't stop it.
They can't stop it. And by the way, you called for the U.S. Marines to sort of intervene at the Getty site, I believe. What response did you receive from officials or agencies when you did that, Stephen?
Well,
did you get a talking to?
Where do we start? First of all, Mother's Magazine, which is a influential yet very liberal rag, said that QAnon was weaponizing the petition system. Now, that's me. I'm not QAnon, but if you want to call me QAnon, whatever. I ran QAnon too for a little while, but you're not supposed to talk about that. But Donald Trump himself took it down. Okay, I ran at least a dozen petitions. Okay, several petitions, and not all of them were Getty. I mean, I ran a Getty petition every month. As soon as one would run out, we'd start it up again. These things only go a month. You've only got a month to get 100,000 signatures. And every time we got close, every time we got momentum, crap happened. Either somebody would shut down the system or whatever for so long, and Trump did that twice until he finally shut it down completely. But I had a Epstein petition also.
Oh, okay.
And I was really pissed off about Epstein because of Acosta and what Acosta did, letting him off basically, because I knew the laws over there in Florida. And my God, that guy should have gotten 80 years minimum. Seriously, 80 years minimum. But they let him off. And anyway, so I started a campaign, and I made a list of people that we were going to take out. And people were, one was Acosta, one was Epstein, and one was Oliver North. Okay. And I was going to go after them one by one. And 30 days after I started a campaign to go after Epstein, he was back in jail. Okay. And this is after I had basically started another White House petition. And trust, the White House sees these things to have him arrested and face, blah, 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 because, you get so many words you can type on these petitions. So anyway, that I figure was successful because obviously it caused him to be arrested, but that was just to cover up so that they could, spirit him off to some bunker somewhere. I mean, my God, the guy's got a bunker in New Mexico. It's like, my God, he's so high up in that Intertel mafia crap. Of course he's in a bunker. But anyway, the Getty stuff, though, during the QAnon period, we were actually getting some, like we'd hit 30,000 or something like that, and then we were getting some momentum, and we just had to keep going. But then Trump shut it down, and the first time he shut it down, he said it was for refurbishment. That was the first time he took office. He shut the whole thing down right when we were doing really good, and of course, when it came back up, it was too late. The petition was gone. Okay, they didn't start up where they stopped when they went into refurbishment, and then we went and did it one more time, and then he shut down the entire system. He took that petition system away. So they know damn well what they're doing. They saw these damn petitions. I mean, they saw them so much that Mother's Magazine was bitching about QAnon using these petitions to weaponize them. My God, it's like one day they're calling you a Nazi, the other day they're calling you a communist.
Right.
Seriously, I'm so sick of these damn labels. Oh, I'm antiseptic. I mean, geez. I personally like that term, antiseptic. I think it's, just killing bacteria. That's
it's pretty fitting. It's pretty fitting.
Pretty fitting, yeah, isn't it? Oh, sick of I have to.
My goodness.
So go on. You have a good question for me? Go on, Tom. Good.
Well, actually, I am curious about another thing you had mentioned. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think you said, yes, I remember now. When you speak of, let's say, the Getty Matrix, what exactly do you mean by that term, the Getty Matrix? I've heard you say that before.
Getty Matrix. Well, those two words don't really go together. I mean, you could say labyrinth. Obviously, the network of tunnels and everything is a labyrinth. That's a very great way to describe it. Other people describe it as a sponge.
I see.
I like labyrinth because it is a labyrinth.
I like that better.
When you're trotting around in there at night, like we do, it's like walking in molasses. Okay, it's like walking with metal shoes on a magnetic floor. Trust me, it's not fun. Okay? I don't know if you've ever done this stuff in your sleep, but it's not fun. Okay, seriously, it's not. It's like the army. There's lots of hiking, lots of walking involved. These tunnels are long. I mean, sure, you can be anywhere you want. I could be out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean underwater in some bunker, or I could be in the Getty, or I could be wherever. But I don't have any choice over this stuff, obviously, and I don't remember anything. But what I do remember, I know it's a pain in the ass, and I don't want to remember.
I don't blame you.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It is a pain in the ass. This is why I got so many people working with me. I don't have to do. I mean, I used to only recruit actual psychics, people who are like really good remote viewers or something like that. Like, wow, hey man, you gotta come to work with me. Usually that's sort of natural because people that are good at this stuff, they kind of gravitate to each other, unless they're evil, of course. But
that's right.
The good guys all sort of gravitate to each other. And when you're running around doing this stuff, you get a reputation. Obviously, Rambo has a reputation. Certainly has a reputation. But I needed to bring in more people, so I started recruiting people who didn't have any experience at all, because I realized I could do that, because everybody has a soul. Everybody can do this stuff. You don't need to be trained because technically, when you're doing our stuff, you're not doing your own thing anyway. You're doing what you're told. You're a soldier now. You're not some tourist walking around. You're actually in the army doing a task. You have a mission, seriously, that's how it works. So you never know what the task is going to be because we're not supposed to remember what we did for obvious reasons.
Right.
Lots of reasons.
And
I know that sounds funky, but who cares, right?
That don't matter.
We're not getting paid for it. We're not running around trying to say, hey, be one of us. Yeah, just give me money.
And with these psychics, these remote viewers, have they told you any sort of premonitions of what the future lies ahead for America? Are we going to see a war? Are we going to see another big war? Are we going to sort of bend the knee with Russia? What's going to happen? I know Putin and his friends out there,
You want to know what's up with Russia?
Yeah, what is going on? Are we actually going to do something about all these threats that they've been making? Are we going to see some action? What are they telling you, Stephen?
All right. Well, first of all, when it comes to the future, it's essentially a timeline, and the timeline is what the best timeline maker is going to be. It's kind of like the Matrix. When we're talking about the Matrix. Once the first person that breaks the Matrix essentially gets to be really good at it and do it for everybody else. So basically, that's what I'm doing. This whole Occupy the Getty mission is foisting this timeline on everybody else, and obviously the enemy is trying to foist a timeline that involves some sort of Armageddon and some sort of nuclear war and all this genocide happening. My timeline doesn't involve that. In my timeline, we basically win this battle, and all that nasty stuff doesn't happen. And that's really my focus. That's what that's all about. But as far as all right, here's what I want you to understand about Russia. This nonsense that's going on with Russia right now in the so-called West. I mean, obviously you got your, tiny hat people, but your tiny hat people aren't everything. Because if you look at the Magna Carta, which is the real game plan or the rule book that everybody uses, at least in the West, there's only so many groups, and the tiny hat people are only part of that group. Like the Rothschilds and shit. They're only part of that group. There's other players, like the Templars, the Vatican, the Royals, and this sort of thing. And the Royals are the ones who are really in charge, because ultimately, even though everybody has to play nice and be equal, they're like the CEOs, if you will. The crown are the CEOs. So everyone is based, since the Magna Carta 2012 or 13 or whatever, that's been their rule book. Now, when Constantine adopted the Catholic faith, he moved the center of the Roman Empire to Constantinople. And we had two things happen. We had Charlemagne essentially defeat the Holy Roman Empire, or assume the title of the Holy Roman Empire, but he assumed command over essentially most of Europe, from Germany to France, and obviously the Moors controlled Spain. But the point is that the leadership of Charlemagne is the leadership that endorsed the Nicene Council and all these things that took place in the Vatican under the guidance of these black nobility types that essentially wanted all the power in the Vatican and not in Constantinople. So with the death of Constantine, obviously, there was a schism in the Catholic Church, or the Roman Empire of the time, and you had your Eastern Western Roman Empire. And of course, the dogma, the gospel, the interpretations of the gospel, and the concepts of the nature of Christ and divinity in general are extremely part of this schism and this argument between these two sides. This is what it's really all about. This is what I'm getting to. But this has to do with a lot of the belief systems. For instance, the Orthodox, or the Greek side, the opposite of the so-called West, they believe that the earth was created by Yahweh, but that Yahweh was the demon, Yahweh was Lucifer, and that God, the creator, who created Lucifer, basically cast Lucifer down to the bottom, and this was the nature of creation through their Sophia story, which is essentially the same as the Lilith story of the Jews. But ultimately what happened was that the Western nations started the Crusades. And of course, the Crusades had two purposes. One was to kill Jews and that kind of thing, but it was also to destroy the Byzantine Empire, which they eventually did. And the Byzantine kings actually called upon their so-called comrades in the West, their so-called fellow Christians, to help them, defend them against the Muslims. But instead, they sacked Constantinople. They pissed on their holy books and what have you. And to this day, most of the documents and stuff that they stole are underground under the Getty. But the point is with the destruction of Byzantium and the Eastern Roman Empire, Russia became the Eastern Roman Empire. This is why they hate Russia so much. This is one of the reasons why they hate Russia so much, because Russia is the only nation today, with the exception of maybe, Greece and some other areas like Armenia, etc., where they actually practice true Christianity, which is the Orthodox, Greek Orthodox. And here's the thing you have to understand is there were 12 apostles. And after Peter created the Roman Roman Church after himself, all other apostles were considered heretics, schismatics, crazy people, etc. Now, obviously, that's BS, because if you ask me, all of the apostles have valid opinions of the words of Jesus, certainly, not the least of which is Thomas, the twin of Jesus, who, his teachings, his gospels are considered schismatic, lies, forgeries, this kind of thing. Where have we heard that before, right? Just like the learned protocols and learned elders of Zion. Oh, those are forgeries, those are lies. I mean, seriously. I mean, the truth is out there. And so the point is that most of the world, if you were to take the apostles, 11 out of 12 of those apostles don't agree with Peter, but for some reason we're all supposed to think that Peter's version is the righteous one and all that. Upon this rock I shall build my church. Come on now, seriously. These are the same people that would tell you that Jesus did not have a husband and wife relationship with Mary Magdalene and that she was just a whore. Who's his wife? That's her that's her at the Last Supper sitting next to him. She was not a whore. She was actually of royal blood. She was of the house of Benjamin. She was royal blood. It's through the woman that the royal blood is passed. Seriously. So when she had children and those children fled, and they went to France or whatever it was to avoid persecution, many wars were fought to try to wipe out anybody that had the possible bloodline connection to this person. Well, that's why they won't kill me, okay? You know what? I don't give a damn anymore. I will say it, okay? Hello. The reason why they couldn't find me all these years is because both of my parents' mothers ran away from their husbands. They grabbed the kids and up and split, disappeared, went to the other side of the country and lived in some small little town under a new name. Both my parents grew up with mothers that did that. That means that they had no clue where I was or where I was going to be born or where my parents were. They didn't even know where my parents were being born. They couldn't follow us for nothing. Okay, and the only reason they found my brother was because he ran an advertisement in some magazine showing a laser broadcasting his company logo on the moon and saying that, yeah, we can do that. And yeah, we were working on a laser that could do that, 300-watt continuous wave argon laser, would have been a visible argon laser. I was totally involved in that project. But that's got the attention of all the cavers, CIA people.
Right.
That's how they figured out. I mean, if back in those days, if you had anything to do with lasers whatsoever, even if you sold lasers, you had the CIA all over you. You had UFOs flying around over you. I mean, every person I met in the laser business told me the same thing. They all said they had some experiences with UFOs. Seriously.
Yes, I had a feeling you would say that.
Well, it's true.
Oh.
They all said that. In fact, when I was with that guy, yeah, cats knocked over all my stuff.
I see.
Probably some spooks, but yeah, when I was telling you about that whole time I was in the hotel room with Vince and my guy Andrew Soler was there, he wanted to talk about UFOs. And this is just some guy. I mean, hell, this guy was like military. He didn't even tell me that was one of his secrets. He was actually worked for the government. He was, I mean, to everyone else, he was just some mild-mannered guy that traveled around the world and bought weapons for the government. But no, he actually worked for the government. I asked him about it. He denied it. But yeah, he was actually a soldier person. But yeah, he called them UFOs. UFOs. Stephen, what can you tell me about UFOs? Of course, Vince is there, and Vince is like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, so seriously, everybody I met, a guy in Spain, a guy in Austria, a guy in Oregon, different states, they all said the same thing. They go, have you seen it? Have you seen anything? Have you seen these things flying around? Seriously. Why? Right?
Right.
The guy in Austria, his name is, he still sells lasers. His name is Andreas Reisner, and his company's called Laser Technik. He's in Austria, and yeah, I met him for a convention. You know, he was one of my
Interesting.
customers,
Yeah.
and he's same thing. He's like, Steven, you seen UFOs? What do you know about UFOs? You know, crazy stuff, huh?
Very crazy.
Comes with the territory.
I was going to say,
Hell,
yeah,
I
it's
work
part of
for
it.
Billy Meyer. Come on, man, I worked for Billy Meyer.
Well, I didn't know
Billy
that.
Meyer? You didn't know that?
I didn't know
Oh
that.
yeah. Right after working for the NSA, right after leaving the Oliver North gang. It's in my book, of course.
So you met Billy Meyer, in other words.
I never met the guy.
Oh, you didn't meet him?
I just worked for him.
Just
No,
worked
I
for him,
never
okay.
went to Switzerland.
You never
He
visited
didn't
it,
come
okay.
here. I never visited him. I didn't need to. The people I worked for were the ones going to Switzerland.
Well, that is
all the videos.
That is interesting. Okay, well, that adds another dimension, another layer to your
this
story.
is how I knew about the how they made the UFOs. I didn't know about the light speed propulsion. I had to learn that one later. But my work with Billy Meyer basically gave me the basic ideas for how to make UFOs, and this is what brought in the cavers on my butt. Okay, obviously. I mean,
yeah.
when I left the NSA guys, I was scared, of course. So I got body armor from this company called American Armor, and there's this dude Jay Dreyfus. He's dead now, but he hooked me up with some armor. But he was the guy. He was like doing security work for Billy Meyer. Obviously, he was giving them armor, but he gave them other stuff too. And he was sort of a private eye CIA wannabe, and that's why he kind of latched on to me. But my big thing, of course, was my laser Glock. Okay, I was famous for my laser Glock. I was, most accurate laser in the world and all that stuff. And he wanted one, so of course he wants to be my buddy. He actually worked for me for a while, but he ripped me off. But this stuff makes me sick. But anyway, so yeah, he wanted me to work for that. He wanted me to join the team, the Billy Meyer team, which was Britt Lee Elders, Bob Welch, and Wendell Stevens.
Wendell Stevens, right? Wow. Not surprised.
Anyway, I was supposed to help them evaluate some alien tech and stuff like that. And they also wanted me to help them sell videos, which of course I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all. That turned me off. That whole trying to make a buck off this stuff turned me off. But anyway, yeah, and so I figured it out, I mean, they gave me basically every bit of alien propaganda they had, and it took a while to sink in. Some of it sunk in. I mean, like the Pleiadians and all that. I got that. I could, I could understand the Pleiadian stuff. The little grays, we all know about the little grays. The reptile stuff, that was difficult for me. I didn't want to accept that. But it wasn't until I started dealing with these Getty people.
Yes, the Getty.
That all came back. They verified everything, basically. Nibiru, reptiles, all that crap.
My goodness.
Anunnaki, what have you, the whole 9 yards. But, I mean, in a nutshell, what I do right now, I mean, as a Jedi, as a astral warrior and all that stuff, with my little army is we actually kill those guys. That's what we do. We don't really have any choice in the matter. It's actually a genocide, but we're not, it's not an emotional thing. It's just our job. It's a task. We have to kill all the reptiles and all the greys and all the Anunnaki in that order. And that's what's going on right now. And this is why a lot of the changes and the threats of world war and the crazy stuff is going on, information coming out. It's because of the havoc we've been doing to their system ever since, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years now since we've been doing this Jedi stuff. Seriously. I know we're causing an effect on them. But at the same time, I have to work really hard to keep my spirits up, because it's not just trying to keep everybody that are working so hard for me motivated, but, I have to give them all faith in the future. Here I go get depressed when some bitch fucks around on me and shit like that. It's like, You know what I mean?
Well, we're all
Makes
still
it hard.
human, so, you know,
I know.
that happens.
People don't understand that. It's like, oh, God. Anyway, so yeah, and here's the thing. I'll just
Right.
share this with you.
Go ahead.
Obviously, psychic power is a big deal of what we do, right?
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that psychic power and sexual power are the same thing.
Right.
Psychic energy, sexual energy is the same thing. So if you got one of a lot, you're going to have a lot of the other too. You know, if you have a lot of one, you're going to have both. But anyway, so yeah, that makes life a little difficult sometimes, especially as we go older.
That's right.
Hey, I don't know. I'm just trying to do what I'm here for and get the hell out of here. Seriously.
Yes, escape the prison planet, essentially.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I don't need to be here to battle these Draco and stuff. I could do that from the other side. I already know that. This stuff's eternal. Once you start fighting these guys, it's eternal. You're doing it. You're already doing it in the astral. It's like, what do you think that is? When you die, that astral doesn't go away. That's still there.
And Stephen, what is your message to those listening who may doubt your story but feel something deeper calling to them to explore the truth?
Well, you know, I used to care a lot about what people thought, you know, and stuff like that. But, you know, here's the thing. There's plenty of proof. You know, it's like these people who are trying to say, give me proof, give me a link, give me whatever.
Yeah, give me evidence.
It's like those Jehovah's Witnesses that came to my door. You got it in your ear already. Too bad. It's already in there. It's what you do with it once it's in there, you know, is up to you. It's on you.
Right.
Seriously, it's on you. As a human, what you do here it's all on you. And if you're ignorant, see, that's the difference. One of the big differences between the Eastern Orthodox and the so-called Western Christians, whatever, is that in the West they believe that all you need to do is keep the faith and do good deeds, and you're good to go. You're going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
In the East, they don't believe that. In the East, they say, no, you have to have gnosis. You have to have knowledge. You can't be ignorant. You know, you want to elevate. You want to leave this place. The only one way out, and that's by knowing. You got to be enlightened. You got to know what's going on. You need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. You need to know how the universe works, and they work. And here's the thing: when you learn about the aliens and stuff like that, suddenly advanced physics and stuff makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I understand quantum physics and stuff a lot more than most people. I mean, we didn't even get into quantum computing or anything like that. The relationship of that to, say, teleportation or light speed travel. I mean,
right.
Light speed travel, it's not what you think. Okay, you're not actually traveling at light speed, trust me. It's just like teleportation or any of that stuff. It's not you on the other side of that thing over there. It's a rebuilt version of you. It's like that's what quantum computing is. It's all about taking a piece of matter, an ion, and making it unstable so that it's no longer that thing that it used to be, and it's now could be a billion other possible things. That's what quantum computing is, doing that to a whole bunch of things. Eventually, they're going to learn how to do that to an entire beam ship full of people and be able to quantify not only the entire structure of the beam ship down to its single electron, and the space between the electron and the proton. This is a big deal, the space, a very big deal. The dipoles, but the same thing about the structure of the human bodies, and not only the structure of the human bodies, but their genetic memory and their DNA and everything else, their soul, essentially, their soul blueprint. You have to recreate that. Now, so in other words, if you're vaporized, essentially, you know, in a so-called, you know, beam me up Scotty thing, do you think that your electrons that you're turned into, do you think those very electrons are on the other side of the universe? Traveling? No, hello.
No,
that's quantum entanglement. Those electrons that are used to put you back together, they're from over there. They have nothing to do with the electrons that you used to be. Okay? This is the nature of time travel. This is the nature of everything like that. I mean, and so the bottom line is if you're going to understand all this complex stuff, you have to understand the mechanics of the actual universe. And this is a big secret. And I think that the Gnostics, you know, the Eastern Orthodox religion, you know, if you want to call it that, they're probably the closest as religions go to actually describing the actual mechanics of the universe. They're probably the closest. That's all I can say. So yeah, the battle with the whole Russia business. No, actually, Russia's the good guys in this business. I mean, seriously, if Russia were not the good guys, Ukraine would have been flattened by now, like Fallujah or Gaza. Hello, think about it. If you've ever looked at any Russian stuff, you'll notice that they only attack the buildings where the soldiers are.
Right.
They don't attack. In fact, there's only been like 7,000 civilians killed by the Russians in 4 years. Okay, and this is not indiscriminate. This is unavoidable stuff that happened. 7,000. That's a tiny number compared to what the Israelis did in a tiny amount of time.
Pales in comparison.
Yeah, in a battle of tiny scale by comparison to the battle. I mean, my God, there's this. What is it? 3,000-mile front or some crap like that? I mean, shit. Seriously, this is a huge, massive battle. Millions of people fighting, and only 7,000 civilians in 3 years?
Yeah,
that's pretty damn.
That is pretty good.
Me.
Yeah,
I say that's pretty humanitarian. And when Trump comes along and says that Russia's a paper tiger because they should have won by now, well, maybe it's because they're not bombing the hell out of every single building in every single city and flattening the entire country like we would do.
It's a good point.
Seriously, that's what we do.
I know. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing in this world.
So yeah, Russia's the good guys. And all you got to do, I mean, trust me, seriously, it's like Syria. Okay, I'm sick over what happened to Syria because I put a lot of effort into trying to save that country, and I lost it. And same thing with Ukraine, the Donbass. I was working with those people since 2014, when all that crap started, Maidan and all that crap. I did everything I could. I had radio shows. I had 2 radio shows, one in Russian and one in English. One was a guy that was in Donbass. One was another girl that was in Donbass. And yet, I try to teach people about what the Nazis were. I knew what was going on. I knew what those Nazis were doing. I knew their tactics. I saw the Israeli snipers and all this crap. I mean, my God, it was awful. And we did that. We paid for all of it. We paid for all those. You know what they did to the police?
What they do?
In the day they took over Eastern Europe, the Donbass region, Gans, Donbass, they went into the police stations early in the morning and they took them over. And then when the guys showed up for work, they took them out and killed them. All the cops. Seriously, this is what the Nazis do. My God, the labor building in Odessa that they burned all those people alive.
Yeah.
For what? For what? For what? Yanukovych was a legitimate president in that country, and they ran him out and replaced him with a bunch of. They had a coup, and yet we're acting like it's a legitimate government, just like we're acting like damn Al-Julani is a legitimate president. My God, we have we've got former CIA generals meeting with a head chopper. We have Trump shaking hands with a head chopper. Seriously, these are people that I put a lot of effort into trying to defeat. And I'm very upset with Assad for being a weak leader. I'm very pissed off about that whole thing. But why did that happen? Because of the damn sanctions. That's why that country was destroyed. It wasn't just weak leadership, it was the sanctions. And all the dead. You know what? I worry about people over there that I know are probably dead right now. Like people that worked at the university or people who are Alawite. Women that wear lipstick and shit like that. What do you think they do to those women?
That's
right. What do
you
think they're doing? And Trump did this, just like he's doing Gaza. And we're supposed to. And what happens if you complain? You're going to go to jail. Oh, you know what? I'm on Social Security. I barely get $1,000 a month. You know what? Pretty soon that's going to be gone because they put it on plastic, and now that it's on plastic, anytime they want to shave off some of it because your social credit score isn't quite right, they will.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, yeah, it's coming. And everyone's going to go rah, rah because Trump's face is on it. My God, Peace Prize? Are you kidding me?
Oh, I know.
You know,
It's ridiculous, by the way.
Anyway, yes, it's very ridiculous.
My
Anything else?
goodness, my goodness. Well, I know we're running out of time here, but I also wanted to say I recall that you were on Revolution Radio for a while, and I did hear that part when you were doing an interview with Victor, and you ran into one of your old friends there, and they shut the show down when you were on there, Stephen. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
That happened a couple of times. Yeah, Victor Hugo. I told him that it wasn't going to work. Okay, I flat out told him it wasn't going to work. I said, no, I am blacklisted on Revolution Radio. You can't do this. It's not going to happen. They're never going to let you connect to the server.
And you were right.
Of course, I was right. I mean, My God, every time someone said no, they'll do it, they found out real quick that no, they have a long memory.
That was pretty amazing.
I mean, my God, the station was started by pedophiles to distribute pedophilia. It's like they're all their ratings and their listenership. The only reason they're getting by all the damn roadblocks that the rest of us have to deal with is because they're connected to all these pornographic websites.
Yeah, all these porn websites that redirect them to the. Yeah, I know all about that. Yes,
that was their trick. Kerry Cassidy, every single one of them did that stuff. I didn't. That's why I can't get any listeners to Truth Cat Radio. www.truthcatradio.com every Thursday night live at 6 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern.
You're going to be there if anybody wants to listen to your program, Truth Cat Radio. Yeah, go there, ladies and gentlemen.
Should be easy to spell.
And by the way, speaking of Kerry Cassidy, has she communicated with you ever since? I know our interview did quite the number, and I know it made its way back to her. That's for sure.
Well, I don't hate Kerry. I really don't. And she is what she is, and she does what she does. But I don't like lying. And I understand if you're paid to do it, you have to do it because your life depends on it. Sure, I get it. But again, like I said, deep down, she felt it in her heart to call me personally and warn me that the Bilderbergers have put a hit out. So you know what? I give her a lot of credit for that.
Understood.
And she'll deny that, though. I mean,
I'm sure she would.
She will deny that.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, you've been very forthcoming with your time here, and I appreciate it so much. And you've been here for a while. I really appreciate that. And Stephen, it's been another great episode here with you, my friend. You shared a lot here.
Well, hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Oh, they will. I'm sure they'll want you back, and we'll do it again. Much sooner this time, I'm sure. And Stephen, any final words before we part ways here?
Well, God willing, I'll be around next time when you want to do this. And final words, email me at law17gun@aol.com, LAW17GUN@aol.com. Join the page on Telegram. That's all we have anymore, which is Occupy the Gay / Stephen D. Kelley. And there's pages on Twitter. Like, for instance, the Children of the Getty page is pretty big. It's not someone else runs it, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, I guess you could go there. But technically, if you want to follow me, you got to join my Telegram or send me an email or something. That's about it. What else can I tell you? Oh, yeah, if you want healing is free. Just send me an email. But just in advance, if you want healing, don't make me write back to you. Send me your photo. Send me a decent face photo so I can actually see your eyes. And tell me your full name. Don't give me your nickname or whatever. Just tell me whatever your name is supposed to be. And tell me what the problem is, and I'll do my thing. And that's it. You don't need to say thank you or anything. People usually don't say well, I don't know. If they have a miraculous recovery, they usually will say something. But a lot of times people will just never say anything. Usually a couple of years later, they'll mention, oh, yeah, that cancer you're working on, yeah, it's gone, man. Oh, yeah, cool. Right on.
Understood.
But seriously, if you want healing, you can do that. Oh, yeah, and if you want to be a Jedi and kill demons, send me an email.
Very cool. Well, Stephen, once again, it's been a pleasure to have you here on the program, and we'll do it again soon, my friend.
All right. Adios, dude.
You got it, brother.